Hello and welcome to another in the series of A Conversation with Comma. My name's Paul Thomas. I'm the Senior Program Manager at Comma Group. I'm also a member of the Operational Management team. And joining to me today is Mark Jones. And Mark is, hello Mark, the Head of Product Programs with Mitchells & Butler. So Mark, probably an easy one to start with for the audience is, who are Mitchells & Butler?
Great question, really. Hi, Paul. Hi, everyone. So Mitchells & Butlers are a managed pub and restaurant group in the UK, one of the largest in the hospitality industry for that area. But probably a lot of people haven't heard of Mitchells & Butlers because we have lots of brands. I've got a slider prepared earlier, which might help a little bit. As you can see, we've actually got 14 major brands that we have in our portfolio. As I said, majority in the UK. We do have one brand in Germany, Alex. All the rest are based in the UK. You might have heard of some of the Harvester, Toby Carveries, All Bar Ones, and Miller & Carter Steakhouses for a few. We are a large organisation. A few stats there. It's always good for a few stats. 150 million transactions a year. Sell about 386 million drinks and 120 million meals. We actually employ around 45,000 people altogether. So as you can see, we are a large organisation. Yeah, and that is M&B in a nutshell.
That's a lot of transactions across a lot of different brands.
Yes, and I suppose what head of product program is, I suppose, is another question, because that's a bit about Mitchells & Butlers. But my department run a team. In essence, we're basically responsible for what Mitchells & Butlers buys as ingredients, so mainly food and drink in that side. What we sell, so how we sell stuff, so the EPOS systems, and then also controlling what sites can order and locations. We do a bit of stuff in digital vouchering as well, promotions, activity, cookbooks, supporting the front line and designing and all that. So we've got quite a wide range of activities within the team that we cover. I've got a team of just under 20 people, so very busy, always on it. But then it comes down to what, how we do it and what we manage. So it's, in essence, we're a data team that do a lot more, I guess, is kind of in a real simple sort of term.
Yeah. And have you been around at Mitchells & Butler for a long time? And I guess, could you talk us through your team with master data management?
So, yes, I've been around. I've been with Mitchells & Butlers for 22 years this year, coming up. So a long time. The first 10 years of that, actually in operations, I was a general manager running outlets across a few different places, and then I moved into a corporate role, and then joined the what the previous name, but it's the product program team, and started to learn that this wonderful world about master data and how that works. So we do lots of stuff, as we talked about, but at the core of it, since 2011. We've had STEP as our master data management system. Previous to that, we had lots of spreadsheets everywhere. Probably a classic story that everyone can relate to. I think there was some crazy stat back then that we took 100 and something odd different spreadsheets and moved it into a master data system. So a little bit of a small guide to our journey with STEP particularly and master data. I've got another slide here. So just talk you through a little bit, and you might notice as well, I've gone from 2011, Paul, straight through to 2019. So it's quite a jump in there.
Yeah.
We went live with STEP and started working with Stebo in 2011. We took all them spreadsheets, all of that part there, and put it into a master data system. So it really is what we buy. So we first went live back then on the buy side. Everything that we buy comes through into STEP as ingredients. We then build recipes for both food and drink, and then we build retail items off that, which is what we sell. So you've got our buy side and our sell side, and it's real simple form. And then we have our outlets in there as well. So we're technically multi-domain as well with Step, and have been since day one. And with our outlets in there, we control what by business unit groups, what everyone can have. So that is kind of what we implemented back then, which was a massive step forward to us. And generally over that time up to January, which is 8 years, we've done a few upgrades, some small developments as they've gone, small projects and developments of it. But in essence, it's kind of done that from day one, is where we were up to this point. And it was perfect for internal. So we had data that worked internally. Our data treated all our systems correctly, all our downward systems, all the integrations worked lovely. So our data worked for us. It kind of came around to that point with the world changing that we realized that our data didn't care about the guest. The guest had no understanding of it. It was it worked internally, but then there was this gap and our guest was here. So we had to sort of stop and say, right, the world's changed. The wonderful world of digital, which has obviously been around before 2019, but that's when we started to really actually realize that we wanted to be in that digital space. However, our data wasn't structured in a way that cared about the guest. If I'm really honest, it was never designed to be. It was never, back when we first initiated the projects, we didn't think about websites, apps, order at table, all these different click and collect, all these different journeys, and especially in 2011, Deliveroo and all the delivery platforms just weren't a feature that we had to consider.
Yeah, I know when we caught up, because I guess we got to meet each other in 2019 when we started a new project. The conversational ordering in outlets is relatively easy. It's like, I don't like chips, I'd like mash. How you were describing this is the systems and the data doesn't lend itself automatically to do that when you're not face to face with somebody taking your order.
Yeah, that's correct. I always, if you're at the bar ordering whatever you want, actually, please can I have that without X, Y, shout through to the kitchen or however you do it. You can have that conversation. How do you digitally have that digital conversation when you haven't got their interaction? Or if you're ordering from your home to be food delivered, you haven't got that server. I think there's a classic example that I always go back to, but I think we've used it many times, is one of our delivery partners, when we first just put the menus live, I won't mention any names, but it said on there, soup of the day, ask your server for details. You're going to shout at your computer, tell me what the soup is? It just doesn't, So it's a really classic bit of actually stop. We need to really understand what our guests need to see and guests needs to touch points. And I think that's really the real core of the project that we've been working on for so long and still working on, is that.
Let me just hold you for a second. Typical COVID, we're all working from home. Somebody's doing their lawn outside. I'm just going to shut the window. Sorry, live streaming. Sorry, Mark.
No. Well, that's right. As we know, it can interrupt the smallest things or the largest things, can't it? So it's definitely changed the way that we do everything, don't we? Because if we were doing this pre-COVID, we would have probably been together and then planning a few beers afterwards. But that's kind of
makeup and a camera team as well.
Exactly. People to do our makeup. So yeah, it was really that actually stop. What do the guests need, and how do we get our data from? Yes, it fed all our internal systems, but actually we need to now feed our websites, our apps on our phones, every touch point the guest has, including more of a challenge, but our hard menu copy. How does it touch that point? So actually, if I make a change here centrally in one point, it affects all them touch points and they all update and they're all correct. And I guess there's some other drivers that have come around in the last X amount of years, allergens and the legal requirement for all that, and giving the guest the information and empowering them with the information to make them decisions. because yes, you've got the legal requirements, but a lot of people also have life decisions on what they eat for style as well. So they want that information, nutritional information, all that kind of really great information, which we have. Yeah. We've got it all, but it doesn't go everywhere, and it doesn't feed everywhere. So that was kind of the driving point when we first started. Then was how do we get to have this one point of entry in our system, feed everywhere, but with the guest in mind at everything we do.
Yeah.
What we had with Step really worked. What we installed, it was groundbreaking, changed us from. So what we corrected probably from original ones is errors in our till systems, in our costings, how everything depleted in our stock and waste system. We've kind of nailed that part in a way, because the Step system as the master data system controls all them parts. We're integrated. We've got 68 integrations in and out of the system. It's a it's a complex piece, but it's where we're at now is that next point in the journey of the world's change from 2011, and what both from what as a Stebo customer, a Step customer and user, what I need from it, but also the system itself. We've done upgrades and bits and pieces, as I said, but we haven't stayed up with the latest technology. So still on the workbench, lots of users on the workbench. We have 100 users of Step currently at the moment, all on workbench. Not all probably ideal to be on the workbench, because there's some are light touch, not heavy users. Part of the project introducing the UI, really important for that, and to get people working more efficiently and in the best way. So some of where 2011 the UI didn't exist, it was that's kind of the advances, and then some really clever stuff that the new stuff's been allowed us to be able to develop with Comma, about moving our menu copy into Step, being able to render that in Step to see how that looks, some really clever stuff that's being developed, and then know that it's all in one place. So when we push it to all them touch points, as we've gone on with the digital, we're in a strong position to say, yeah, actually we know what we're pushing out is correct, and we haven't got these variations. So it's really fascinating that both our need has moved on, but the Stebo's developed a Step to in line with that, and now we're going to move into that kind of position to be able to take advantage of a lot of the new features, which working with Comma, we've been able to say, right, that actually this is our business case of what we need, this is our problem statement. How do we do that? So we were flying along, weren't we?
It's a fascinating journey. I guess, as you said, there was the new technology that by chance or by Stebo's design was really suited to our new requirements. But yeah, where did we get to? Full build complete at middle of April, and then we've barely spoken to each other since.
So yeah, we were just hitting into our sort of the second start of the major testing, weren't we? So we'd done the second release. Very exciting. Seeing sort of we were just getting the second part of the build was just being released, literally, wasn't it? And then, as the world knows, a complete something that let's hope never happens again hit the world. As working in hospitality, overnight, Mitchell and Butlers' income stopped in its simple terms, and along with that was all projects stop that could be as soon as possible. As many of our staff furloughed as possible. So we pretty much went from 45,000 employees, still having 45,000 employees, but a handful working in the office to keep the lights on. We had to do everything to protect the business. When your income stops overnight, you've got to do whatever it has. We've now been reopened for we've been open since beginning of July. So we're 3 or 4 weeks in. It's on track for expectations. Obviously, we're not where we were. The world's changed. We're coming to terms with the new normal, which is I think the common word of it all, common word. But we're on track. And what has been really encouraging is we've only 3 weeks in. I've got the phone call to say we realise the importance of master data project. We even more important probably because of COVID. You know, the digital landscape. I think everyone's been forced to embrace through different circumstances and change. We've pushed on with our order at table platform without having the background solution almost in place. We're doing with manual workarounds to try, you know, for that safety part, for social distancing. But what's been encouraging is that although there's our project in itself doesn't return lots of everything, it enables so much more to be done, and it's really key for that. So we will be restarting the project and finishing as soon as possible, which is really exciting to see it through to the end. End maybe not, it will keep developing. However, you know, the end of this phase, as we say, and then enable all the digital journey to then become enabled and start working on that part of it. So we can say that actually, if it's right in one place, it's right everywhere, which is really key. And actually, we're actually now focusing on what does the guest see as a menu, what do they see, and then working backwards. And the journey goes backwards. So that our end point is actually now our start point. On this app, what does the guest see?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. How do we work backwards to make that work in our system? Whereas I would say pre that, or current live version as it is, we build a menu or a range of stuff, and then it gets pushed out the other way. There's no, so we've actually flipped our thinking to think about the guest, and that, especially that digital, but also there's an impact just to your classic visit to the pub, sit down, restaurant, etc., to make it improve it. And I think it's fascinating to think actually you could probably walk around one of our restaurants in future and realize that that comes back to step. It'd be really interesting to, when we've landed this, to do that journey. I guess that, you know, even to that point where we're looking at extending the user range to have a portal web page for sites, so our outlets will have access for that more granular information that only we've got 1,600 and something businesses. How do we get the granular detail of what's happened to that particular car parking space in that site that's got a skip on it for the day? Well, you can only get that from the site. So enabling that advance in the step solution and using the UI for a page, we can now gather that information. So it's a really exciting future for what we will be able to do and what we'll be able to enable in the future. So yeah, as you can see, I can talk about it. I'm very excited about it.
Yes. Yes.
It's just me, one-way traffic here.
It's a conversation, but it's fascinating.
No.
You and I have spent a long together on this journey already. So I do wonder, you know, some people say we'll get back to the good old days. I wonder whether the business case for digital will be different even after 4 months. I think there's elements of society that will maybe never want to go somewhere again where they're shoulder to shoulder with people, and that ability of yours to either get things delivered or for people to be able to order them to take out, or sit in an area and not have to have as many human interactions. I think it becomes even more powerful.
I think you're absolutely right. You can break that down. You're right. So you literally could have the part of going into one of our businesses, sitting in the corner on your phone, tap tap tap. Someone brings over their drink. You pay as you pay in there as well. You know, hopefully they say hello and smile. But they could literally put it at the end of the table and walk off.
Yeah.
You could drink that, leave the business, and if they just did put it on the end of it and have no interaction really at all, or not even share a word.
No.
And if that is what the customer wants. Now, personally, that that's not hospitality for me. But you've got to cater for everyone. You know, hospitality that I've been in 20 years. I think the smile, the hello, how are you, that bit there, that's so really important to us, that we still need that, whatever the digital part that goes over it.
Yeah.
So that's my own personal bit, but we've already seen slight increase in delivery from where we were previously, which is, I think, is quite interesting already. So obviously sales are down overall, but there's some movement in that digital bit about some of the different partners we have with delivery. That's doing okay, and I think that will keep growing. It was a growing market anyway. Yeah. This has probably accelerated it. And I don't know if I might occasionally have the odd takeaway delivered or something like that. Try not to, but what I've noticed on that, if you go on the apps now, there's so much more choice, so many more businesses are on it, because of what's happened, that they either moved their business to it, to add to it, and keep going, or they've just realised that that's part of it, and that's just going to grow. It works that, you know, it's an additional part of our business. It's never going to be our sole driver of it, but as an additional income. Like, we stopped delivery when we were closed because it's a small part of ours, so it wasn't ever going to be a viable option to carry on with that. But we've since been reopened in most of our sites. We're not all sites. We've still got our Welsh sites to come on the 3rd, so that's going to be very exciting. But we'll have majority then of our sites open. So yeah, that whole ordering from home on a website, pre-ordering as well, so that becomes part of it. Stay at home, I want this, to have less interaction, and then also using the digital part once people are in as well. It's just not going to go away. It just really feels that it's, say again, the horrible, like the new normal, but it will get a balance. But I think it really has changed everything. And even stepping back from, like, on a personal level, I was in the office 4 or 5 days a week pre this. I've been back at work for over a month and work from home every day. Has it interfered with, I don't know how you found it particularly, Paul, but you can still achieve anything. Technology has all moved across that you can do anything now, can't you? It doesn't matter.
Well, I know we're in the same county, but the fact that we can do this, we're working with some clients that aren't in the UK. We haven't physically met pretty much 95% of the team we're working with. And like you, my background's rugby. It's much more a physical, it's interaction, it's those smiles and those nuances of the eyes and things. But we can be effective. We can get things done. It almost feels like the digital delivery, it's be in it or lose. There's so many other people being in it now. With organizations can make that choice, but it's almost part of the market that isn't going to go away now. Deliveries, ordering online, and if you don't have a presence, you don't have an income stream.
No, and it's interesting. Some of our competitors either already had the sort of similar and have made improvements over it, or that they've added to it as well. So it's just people are investing in it. It will become normal to be able to do all of this stuff. Most people, are glued to phones constantly anyway, so it is going to become part of the normal. It'll help in ways. That second drink. Do you fancy another second drink? Oh, I can't. Oh, it's going to take ages. No, just And as you know, Paul, I'm not one to shy away from a second drink. So
when you want your battery to die at the end of the evening, you can't keep ordering.
No, that's it. Yeah. Yes, maybe it should be connected to what state you're in. But yeah, so it's fascinating where it goes. I think what's exciting is some of the features we're taking it in the new platform, the new version, and the ability to keep it will give us a lot more flexibility to where we were sort of on the older step, which worked then, but we didn't have that flex to sort of keep moving with it. And as the next thing comes around the corner, The hope is we can adapt to that with the new setup, because we've built it, and our data models in such a way that it's flexible enough for us to adapt. That it's not a whole, we're into 2-year project now, but we're not. It's not a year project and you're a year behind. The idea of when we started from day one was, how do we make ourselves flexible enough to be able to move at a quicker pace and be, it might be slightly small pieces of development or changes, but we'll have the ability to do that, and I think that's really exciting as well. That we can move at pace in the future. That was stuff just changes so quickly, and the next thing comes around the corner. And if you're not ready to go, it can be too late, and you've missed the boat, or your competitors have already embraced it, own it, and then they're famous for it, and you're doing a catch-up second. So that's what's exciting about the new version and the new build. It gives us that flexibility to move with the times and do it. And I think that's where, although the digital landscape isn't the sole driver for the project, especially when it started, it was probably more of an even split across different projects. What's happened in the last 6 months has driven it to actually this digital drive and the guest journey, and really focusing on that guest journey and what they need, and especially because these are whole new journeys the guests are having. We used to have every guest journey plotted out. Well, they've been ripped up, and then now it's it's a different scenario. So us being able to move with that is just really exciting, and it keeps it interesting, doesn't it?
It does. But I think your strapline at the beginning, maybe we use this at the end. I think the fact that the data worked internally, but the data just didn't work for the guest.
It didn't care about the guest. Our data did not care about the guest. It provided the out part, but there was no link particularly. No. It did our internal systems great, but now this next phase, this part is actually, right, guest, you want to be able to see our menu, all these different devices, because you can see it on a hard copy, or you might have it on a tablet. You might want to look up the allergens on a tablet. You might want to order on your phone. How do we have one source of the truth that meets all of them requirements? And I don't know about you, but I find when maybe we work in data, so but when there is errors, when you see stuff different between, it's really frustrating that it's not what you expect, and people and guests are more savvy. They know that it's got to be right. They know that when that's not right, that they're more aware, and you can't make those mistakes. And social media, etc., etc. If you make a mistake, it's not like they tell 2 people anymore, is it? It's all over the place. So important that whatever you do is just right in all places. So it's this should give us that platform to do that. And as we start back up in soon,
many weeks,
and move into that test phase and then launch, it's going to be really exciting to see where it goes from there.
Yeah, and I hope we can, in a few months' time, reflect on this conversation and see Mitchells and Butler across all those brands with a different proposition.
Yes, and and it's the ability to take what are proof of concepts in a way, and scale them to be across the board, so everyone can have it, and it's manageable. You don't need an army of 500 people rekeying on every platform. You can have that, which at the moment we're kind of doing a bit of that, not with 500 obviously. It's like but it's how do you do that en masse without systems falling over and the one point of entry. So very exciting times
indeed. Well, hopefully we'll catch up soon, and I guess for the audience, thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
I'll speak to you soon, Mark.
Cheers. Take care, Paul.
Bye.
Bye-bye.